Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Well, good evening. Let's go ahead and get started. We've got a few things in front of us this evening. And before I call the meeting to order, I want to announce that some committee members, staff, and the public are attending remotely via Zoom as well as on site. All participants joining by phone should mute their phones when not speaking to avoid background noise. During the meeting, please make sure that you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak so the public that is observing knows who is speaking. When speaking, be sure to speak directly into a microphone so that all comments are heard and the record of the meeting is accurate. This is critical given the number of remote participants and its current guidance from the Kansas Attorney General. The public is allowed to participate by Zoom or submit comments by email prior to the meeting, and those comments will be included in the record of this meeting. The public may also indicate their intent to provide remote public comment by contacting the clerk's office by 5 p.m. the Thursday before the meeting. The public also will have an opportunity to provide brief comments either by telephone or via Zoom from the 5th floor conference room of the municipal office building. Public comment will be allowed during each agenda item. Comments should be limited to the item at hand per the commission rules of procedure, should not include any rude or derogatory remarks, reflections as to integrity, abusive comments, and statements as to the motives and personalities. I will now call the meeting of the Public Works and Safety Standing Committee to order and ask the clerk to please call roll.
Roll call. Henry. Lopez.
Here.
Burns. We have an absence memo. Stites. Kane. Burrows.
Here. Thank you, committee. We are down a member.
2 members. We don't have a quorum.
We need a quorum though, right? She's not on this committee, but what we have is, do we know if Stites is going to be joining us? Have we heard from him?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I haven't heard anything.
Okay, we know Burns isn't going to be here. I do need to appoint someone if we're going to conduct business this evening. We do have a couple action items, so I'm going to need a quorum. Dr. Hill, if you're willing to join us, be our pleasure to have you. We can get you a copy of the minutes. You have a copy of everything? Are you willing to join us? Madam Clerk, will you ensure that she's Sin is fill in for Commissioner Stites?
For attendance.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stites has just joined us.
He just joined us?
He just joined us.
Okay.
I mean, just a second to get him as part of the panel.
Dr. Hill, you're still welcome to stay on if you'd like for this evening in place of Burns, because we could always lose Stites later on due to technical difficulties. So if you'd care to stay on, is Commissioner Stites online?
Commissioner, are you
Yes,
with
I
us?
am.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We'll call
Thank-
roll. Are you here?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Clerk, are there any revisions to tonight's meeting?
There are no revisions.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion. Approval of minutes is the first order of business. Jen?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call roll.
Roll call. Lopez.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Kane. Burrows.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Dr. Hill is with us. Yeah, I asked her to stay on, so we want to ensure that she going to vote for the minutes.
Dr. Hill, your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Just want to make sure that we keep this moving forward. Okay. The first item of business this evening is the approval of the FY25 Adult Community Corrections Kansas Department of Corrections Grant. I will recognize Phil Lockman from our County Corrections Department to make the presentation. Mr. Lockman, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is our, I'll be doing 2 things today, the adult first and then the juvenile grant second. These are through the Department of Corrections. And it's a little bit of an unusual situation in that it's not a typical grant because we have to, statute says we have to exist in all judicial districts. It's just how much is the state going to fund us is really the question. And so we prepare a document and it's not really, it's just, they give us an amount of money that we're supposed to work towards on our adult budget. That's about 1.6 million. And on the juvenile budget, that's 2.5 million. And once the legislature wraps up in the omnibus wrap-up session, we should know how much money we'll have. But on the juvenile side, that's going to be about right. On the adult side, I think that the legislature might slide 2.5 million in statewide. So we might look at a little bit more than 200,000 extra after that. And that's something that we would come back with the Department of Corrections and just readjust the budget come July 1st. This is the 44th year for our adult budget or our adult grant. It funds our intensive supervision program for adults. So we supervise the highest risk offenders in the community, about 650 active cases and about 200 warrant cases. We provide case management services, mental health services, drug treatment, mental health treatment, prescription medication for psychotropics, also emergency housing for offenders that are getting out of jail or out of treatment, don't have a place to live, and they need a place to kind of continue their sobriety. So we'll pay for a week or 2 or 3 or 4 weeks at an Oxford house or something like that. It's pretty basic supervision money, though. It's like we're about 98% of the budget is all personnel. So we don't have a whole lot of operational money in there. And if anyone has any questions in
Any
specific.
questions, committee? Seeing none. Mr. Lockman, I do, just for clarification, these are 2 separate items. You're not talking about them both collectively in the first overview, are you?
Oh, everything I said is true pretty much for both of them, but no, this is just the adult right now.
Okay, and the adult one is, did you say 1.6 million or closer
Yeah.
to 1.7?
1.6. And what's interesting is that when I first came here in 1995, our budget was 1.7 million and now it's 1.6. So that you can take inflation and look at that. And that's why we don't have a lot of operational money in our traditional budget.
Understood. Okay, any members have any questions? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk if there was any comments received from the public.
No comments received.
Thank you. I'll ask the clerk if anyone online from the public wishes to make a comment.
No hands are raised.
Thank you. Is there anyone appearing in person who would like to address this item? Let the record show nobody stepped forward. Okay. No other further questions? Entertain a motion. Then this is being asked to be fast tracked to the next meeting. So we can do that all in one motion if whoever makes the motion would choose to do so.
Forward, fast track.
Second. We do have a motion and a second. Thank you. Clerk, please call roll.
Roll call. Hill.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Kane. Burrows.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, committee. The second one, same way?
Yes, it's our juvenile budget. It's about 2.5 million. It's a little different in that it not only pays for the supervision of high-risk juveniles in the community, but it also, we do the parole supervision out of the correctional facility for the state of Kansas. And in addition to that, rolled into this budget is for juvenile intake and assessment that's run by the sheriff's department. That's for child in need of care and juvenile offenders coming into the system, kind of a front end. This budget takes care of that. And we also have a third party that we provide money to, Heartland 180. Under our prevention, they get about $180,000 out of it. And this is the 17th year for this grant. And once again, it's just basically they tell us the amount of money and we plug it in and we go from there. And I think that 2.5 million will be about the same for this because I'm not expecting a change to that this year. But it primarily provides services so we can provide services drug treatment, evaluation services, mental health, cognitive education to youth and their families. But we also do programs in the community, the Parenting Project, working with parents that have kids that are having issues, and some other things. Plus, we do a family engagement program where we actually go into the detention center when a youth is initially arrested. And we meet with them and the family and try to get the process going faster so they don't sit in detention as long. So we try to get them hooked up into counseling, treatment, things like that, get their paperwork done, work with the attorney so that we can expedite the process going through the system. And that's,
Committee, any questions? I'll ask clerk if there are any comments received from the public.
No comments received.
Thank you. I'll ask clerk if anybody online and public wishes to make a comment. Is
No hands are raised.
there anyone appearing in person who would like to address this item? Let the record show nobody stepped forward. Okay, I do have one or two questions. You said the 180 program. Is that come out of that grant money?
yes. And it's one of the, and this goes back years and years ago. This is probably the 13th year or 14th year that occurs. And that money goes to Heartland 180 to provide their services and working with youth and other parties. And it's been a very successful partnership. They've really matured over the years and become very sustainable. And our portion that we give them through this grant process is really not the biggest chunk of money they get, which is good because they need to be very diversified like all social service organizations now.
Having met with them, there was some concern addressed about having juvenile drug rehab. We don't have one in Kansas City, Kansas, and with the fentanyl deaths that we're having among our juveniles, that was a conversation that I had with the Heartland 180 and a number of other groups collectively. Is there any kind of a program or anything like that that you might be able to guide us to help deal with some of this drug addiction with this fentanyl?
Well, it's a nationwide and a statewide issue, not only the use and abuse of drugs, but the lack of treatment. COVID was a social service organization killer.
Yeah.
We just recently did an RFP and we didn't get a whole lot of responses on, because we have money ourselves and we issue an RFP to provide drug treatment for kids in that. And it's like you said, it's far and few between. And it's a tough nut to crack because and like when I'd mentioned the word sustainability with Heartland 180, that's what a lot of social service organizations need. And that's tough to find good management and people that can design around sustainability and get multiple sources of income coming in to help support those organizations, because the amount of state and federal money just ebbs and flows. And, we all know the level of poverty in our community, so there's not a lot of money that can be collected from user fees. But yeah, we're right in that with that 180 and everybody else. And so we just issued that RFP and they're getting ready to start the process on that. But that's what we use some of this money for, is paying for that treatment and paying for treatment for parents, even that are kids that are involved in our system. But that's a tough one to crack because you just can't start up a drug treatment program or a mental health program very easily and keep it running nowadays.
Well, we definitely have a need for the fentanyl interdiction with our youth 18 and under. Whether we do it through the public health department, outside private sources or whatever, we so sorely need that in our community. We just lost a couple of youths last week, and not to have that in our own community is very concerning. So I would hope that it would be something that if you put an RFP, if there's anything we can do, and I'm talking about juveniles, parents that have other opportunities in which to address those through private entities, through their insurance firm or whatever it may be. But when it comes to our youth, those especially in juvenile custody, I would hope that we would find some way in which to interact with them with.
And there's not that much adult treatment available either. You know,
That's true.
we use Mir Incorporated is one of our primary ones, and they've been around for decades, based out of Newton, and they're all over the state, and they're about the only one out there. Cause I mean, insurance is, you know, they pay so much when they do, they pay so little, but when they do, they pay so much more than a regular provider does, a neighborhood provider. It really skews the market for the amount of available treatment. And then those people with insurance, and honestly, you know, most of the people that we see in our criminal justice system don't have insurance. And so it's those places that get, you know, that they design their programming around insurance money, which you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars for treatment. And when you have people show up that don't have that access to money, it's really tough to build a supply chain for that kind of demand.
Well, we can ill afford to keep burying our children. So, I mean, we must find some kind of resources. That's all the questions I have. Anybody else?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Roll call. Hill.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Kane. Burrows.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, committee. That takes us to item number 3. This is a non-action item. This is for information only. And this is an update from our Public Works Department on a solid waste management plan. And I'll wait for Mr. Fisher and Diane is seated. Okay.
Good evening. Diana Jimenez is our solid waste manager. And as you may recall, the solid waste program is required by state statute, is required to have a 5-year plan. And every year it's to be reviewed and progress measured and then reported to the state. And we usually provide that review to the commission in this forum each year. I can say that especially under Diana's direction, this program is really moving. The last couple of events that are under her direction have been very successful. And I won't steal her thunder. I'll let her highlight the report and those events.
Good evening, Diana Jimenez, Solid Waste Manager. As Jeff stated, this was presented to the Solid Waste Committee. They had asked that I add a previous year so they can compare it from 2023 to previous years on the data. And then they also asked me to add the appendix at the very end. That's the recommendations that's in the solid waste 5-year plan. So on the residential collection data, as you can see on this chart, the trash and recycling tonnage has decreased throughout the years, and we believe it is due to everyone returning to work, going back to that normal life after COVID, and students going back to school. As you can see, Edwardsville on their recycling tonnage, it has increased throughout the years. They do provide a different service than KCK and Bonner, and they have to recycle. On the Community Recycling and Yard Waste Center, throughout the years, it also has increased in the yard waste tons and also the glass recycling. The HHW, we have 7 events every year, and we have continued to do that this year as well. And in 2021, it was increasing again, we believe, because during COVID, a lot of people were really getting rid of things in their home, and that was the opportunity to dispose of those items. For dumpster days, this was an event that was initiated in 2021. And as you can see, the tonnage is 80 tons that year. And again, because people were cleaning out their homes and disposing of items. And in 2021, this was a new program. We had over 650 participants that year. In 2023, it did decrease. I would like to share that this year was the first event in the beginning of April, and we had 430 participants. And last year we had 499. So we do see an increase for this year. Some new initiatives that we have is that our solid waste division is now fully staffed. We added a program specialist that assists with customer service in various programs. We have a general laborer that now is at the Recycling and Yard Waste Center, and we're now able to open that until December, every Thursday through Saturday. The cost of service study, this was the very first time a study was done for solid waste, it was completed by Burns and McDonnell. This was a study so that we ensure that the costs are covered for our services that we provide. The facilities, there were some enhancements made at the Recycling and Yard Waste Center. We revamped the heating and cooling system. There was Wi-Fi added, and then just some upgrades like to the flooring. And we also did paint the facility. The solid waste team has been working with building and logistics just to see their recycling options that we have in every UG facility. And we're still working with them. And I know that at the Fleet Center and at the NRC, we've added some recycling options for staff and the public. So on the residential services, one of the things that we did last year was we collaborated with Waste Management on a CARTS initiative. We collaborated with them and created a timeline and details of that program, and that was set to begin early of 2024. For the HHW events, we still have that from April to October, every third Saturday. We just had our first one for 2024 this past weekend. On the education and outreach portion, we continue to update documents to hand out to residents. We also have a trash holiday schedule on magnets. We updated the solid waste webpage. We've also participated in some town hall meetings and neighborhood groups. And we've engaged with students in the county just to talk about the recycling and just showing them ways to recycle and educating students. And that is the end of the report. The end of the last pages are the appendix, just the recommendations that's in our 5-year plan, so you can refer back to it. If you have any questions.
If I might, I just wanted to emphasize one point that Diana made earlier regarding dumpster days. That was 499 for both events last year, and they did 439 in this first event this year. What we would like to see too, that I hope we'll start tracking, is how that compares maybe to illegal dumping. And it'd be nice to see some positive trends in illegal dumping as a result of dumpster days.
Yeah, there was some, sorry, any questions from the committee? There were some questions and comments in reference to having an open dumpsters throughout the city at different times to stop the dumping, illegal dumping. Some major dump areas, put a dumpster out where we're having continued dumping. And we don't know if that would work or not. Is there any chance that, any insight into those ideas that came forward?
I think I've heard that too. Maybe Diana's got some additional comments. I guess the couple of things that I would be concerned is how do we control that? And then it just becomes a dumpster for everybody to just throw their stuff in. I think I'm just worried about how we control that. Diana, you got any thoughts on that?
That'd be the same concern that I would have during that event, the event of dumpster days. That evening and the following evening on both nights, there were residents that did drop off just trash and large items. They were not placed in the dumpster. They were just thrown there in that area.
Well, I know over there by where I live, over on Lower Holiday, it seems like I'm interfacing quite a bit with our dumpster police. And they're getting pretty creative of how they dump. They'll put furniture in the back of their truck. They'll tie the rope around the legs and to a telephone pole, and they just pull out and drop everything. And Public Works was out there here a while back with a backhoe, picked everything up, dumped it in the dumpster. And then next day there was a sectional out there and some desks, and had an open top dumpster plus half a car. They're dropping boats and everything over there. And I've just, we're just somebody even dropped, I think, a dozen tires, but they were kind enough not to just throw them out. They actually stacked them. And so they had some time in which to do that. But if there's a concerted area, it might be, we may want to consider putting a dumpster there for a day or two, and if it doesn't work, move it somewhere else. But
Oh, it'll work. They'll use it.
well, that
No doubt
that's
about it.
better than sending Public Works out, I guess, to do its man hours. Commissioner Lopez?
Yeah, I just want to add that I have spoken with some officers that are over the illegal dumping, and there is like, I want to say close to 300 cases now. And it looks like a high majority of those cases are that they've made arrests and whatnot are from people that aren't even from this county.
Right.
But yeah, so I wanted to add that to there. Putting the dumpster out there, I think, I mean, it's a, yeah, I can totally see it trying to take, control that because people are definitely going to take advantage of that. And then, I do,
And as you point out, not just Wyandotte County folks.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I want to work on something on maybe getting a chain gang or some sort, with Leavenworth or Lansing or even with our sheriff's office. Cause there's a lot of trash up and down like 42nd Street from Metropolitan to Gibbs, and then also along inland. There's a lot of trash. It's just, I don't know if it's blowing off of, trash trucks or whatever, or but there is, I'm just trying to figure out a way to get that picked up also. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely not one solution to
Right.
this problem.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments from the committee? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk if there were any comments received from the public.
No comments received.
Were there any comments from people online?
No hands are raised.
Is there anybody in person that would care to speak to this item? Let the record show nobody stepped forward. Thank you, committee. As I stated, this item was for information only.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Diana. That concludes our meeting this evening. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn. There's something, yeah.
I need a second. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Motion made and seconded for adjournment. Clerk, please call roll.
Roll call. Hill. Aye. Lopez.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Kane. Aye. Burrows.
Aye. And that concludes our meeting this evening. Please stick around for the Administration and Human Services to follow. Thank you, committee. That's it. We're adjourned. I didn't even see your hand go up.
Good evening and welcome to our Administration and Human Services Standing Committee for Monday, April 22, 2024. Before I call the meeting to order, I do want to announce that some of our committee members, staff, and the public are attending remotely by Zoom as well as on site. All participants joining electronically should mute their devices when not speaking to avoid background noise. During the meeting, make sure you announce yourself by name and title when you speak so that the public observing knows who is speaking, and be sure to speak directly into a microphone so all comments are heard and the record of the meeting is accurate. And I will say that I read through 2 sets of minutes in our agenda packet where multiple times I was guilty apparently because it says Bynum inaudible. So I think we really do want to make sure we speak into a microphone. This is critical given the number of remote participants. It's also current guidance from our Kansas Attorney General. And the public is allowed to participate by Zoom or submit comments by email prior to our meeting, and those comments are included in the record of our meeting. The public may indicate their intent to provide remote public comment by contacting our clerk's office by 5 p.m. the Thursday prior to this meeting. The public also has an opportunity to provide comments either by phone or Zoom or here in person this evening. Public comment is allowed during each agenda item. Comments should be limited to the item at hand, and per the commission rules of procedure, should not include any rude or derogatory remarks, reflections as to integrity, abusive comments, and statements as to motives or personalities. And with that, I will now call the meeting of Administration and Human Services Standing Committee to order and ask our clerk to call the roll, please.
Roll call. Hill,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Ramirez,
Here.
Kane, Bynum.
Here. Madam Clerk, are there any revisions to our agenda tonight?
There are no revisions.
We have 2 sets of minutes to approve tonight. The first set is minutes from January 23 of 2023. If I could have a motion for approval.
Move to
approve.
Davis, second.
There's a motion and a second for approval. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Hill,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Kane, Bynum.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Those minutes are approved, and we have a second set for February 13, 2023.
Move to approve.
Davis, second.
We have a motion and a second on those minutes. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Hill,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Kane, Bynum.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Those minutes are approved. We have 2 items on our agenda tonight. The first one is a resolution. It's authorizing transfer of title of real estate to the Kansas City, Kansas Housing Authority. We have Wendy Green, our Assistant Chief Legal Counsel, and we also have Miss Andrea Tapia, the Director of the Housing Authority. If you'd like to go ahead and make your way to the front table, just on the chance that there might be a question for you, and we welcome you to the meeting. And I will turn it over to Wendy Green.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. This all began when we first discovered, and I don't know if it was when we first discovered, but when we realized we needed to do something about the fact that Juniper Gardens was still in the name of the unified government, and technically it was in the name of the city of Kansas City, Kansas. And that got the ball rolling for us to realize that there were lots of properties that were in the name of either the city of Kansas City, Kansas, or the unified government that were really the Kansas City, Kansas Housing Authority properties, and they didn't need to be in our name anymore. And quite frankly, these aren't assets of the unified government. They shouldn't belong in the name of the unified government. And the right thing to do would be to transfer them into the name of the Kansas City, Kansas Housing Authority. And that's what the resolution is in front of you. It would be to give authority to David Johnston, our county administrator, to sign the deed that would transfer all of these properties over to the Kansas City, Kansas Housing Authority. When we were in agenda review, we did have Commissioner Bynum asked if she could see a map for some of these properties because a lot of these properties are multifamily properties. There's no way, if you wanted me to put addresses with them, this would be a lot longer of a paper presentation because there's multiple units in some of these. So I did parcel numbers on a lot of them and some of them where I could, I did addresses, but the best thing to do would be to go through a PowerPoint presentation that I have made where I've put them, I've given you maps to see where these properties are located. Most of them are in the northeast. There is one in Turner, but most of them are in the north.
I would
northeast.
appreciate that. Did I see a hand go up at the end of the room? Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you. So just clarification,
Mhm.
these are properties that are already, the housing authority operates and takes care of, but the only thing is they're under our name, the UG's name. We're
Exactly.
just transferring that.
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
Some of these properties, I would say probably they all started it out to be obtained through a condemnation. A lot of them we were able to negotiate and the owners just deeded them over to us, or the land in essence. Then we had agreements with the housing authority to build a lot of them. And Ms. Tapia may be able to elaborate on a lot of that, but the unified government or the city of Kansas City would acquire them under different kinds of authorities and acts to establish a housing authority. But after that was done, everything else was done by the housing authority. The housing authority funds them, runs them, staffs, everything that needs to be staffed to take care of them. We do absolutely nothing for these properties. We'll see if this thing wants to agree with me today. So this first set of properties is located at 14th and Ray. It is just northeast of I-70. That gives you an idea of where those are. It's again, multifamily housing here. This is not very far from there. It's just at 13th and Ray. Again, just northeast of I-70. These parcels are at Oakland to the south, and it's just due north of Big 11 Lake, to give you an idea of where those are. This is to the west, that street is 10th Street. And so then you also have Boyke and Ray, Gilmore Avenue, and I-670 is just directly to the south of that. And for this parcel, again, lots of multifamily housing there. You have 10th Street to the west and due east of this is Big 11 Lake. And for this, it's at 13th and Washington Avenue. It's also west of Big 11 Lake, so just right around there in that same area. And this is a duplex. It's located there at 9th and New Jersey, so that's pretty easy to figure out where that one is. And this one is just across the street from the last one. So also there at 9th and New Jersey, this is west of the last property. And for this one, this is just right next door to the property I just showed you. So also at 9th and New Jersey. For this, probably this is the parking lot to that property, which are apartments. And that apartment building is located at 730 Nebraska Avenue. And for this property right here, it is at pretty much 7th and Freeman, just east of Sumner Academy, my alma mater, if I could throw that in there. And right here you have two duplexes located at 11th and Freeman, again, north of Big 11 Lake. This one is at 11th and Ohio, just east of Pearson Elementary. Right here, this is due west of I-70 and the river, pretty much, and it's just located there at 8th and Lion. There's Mill Street right there to the east of it. I would do bigger maps, but then you wouldn't even be able to see the property really. So this is about as good as I could do and to just give you a little bit of narrative of where it's located. For these three properties, this is right off of Cleveland at 5th and Cleveland. It's just south of Garland Park. Garland Park is pretty much right across the street. And for this property right here, it's just at Third and Greeley. Greeley is that street right to the south of it. And for this same thing, it's Third and Greeley. Again, it's just down the street from the other property I just showed you. This is at Fifth and Stewart, and it's just south of Quindaro. This is on Parallel Avenue. It's 832. It's two different duplexes, and it's up against the southwest corner of the cemetery there located off 9th Street. And then this is 8th and Lafayette. It's also alongside that cemetery. And then this property right here is at 7th and Split Log. It's north of Split Log Park. And then this last round of properties is the one that's the ones that are located in Turner, and it's just west of I-635. Any questions?
Questions, Commissioner Ramirez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So all these properties that were shown, these are the ones that we will be transferring,
That's correct.
transferring to the Housing Authority?
Correct. There are still a few more. Their legal descriptions are really complicated. And so mapping is helping me nail down the correct legal descriptions because we want to make sure that when we do transfer that to them, that there aren't any problems. So if they need to go ahead and on-sell them at a later date so they can, if they need to just narrow down their inventory or whatever they need to do with them, they don't have to worry about using the correct legal description, that we make sure that we do it correctly. So I'm waiting on correct legal descriptions from our mapping department who's helping me with those, as well as our abstractors over in delinquent real estate. And once I know I have the correct legal descriptions for those properties, then those will also get transferred.
About how many do you think that will be on round two?
Oh, less than 10.
Okay.
Mhm. This is the biggest majority of them.
Other questions? Can you remind me the duration of time that the housing authorities actively been managing, operating, and renting these properties?
Gosh.
Go ahead, Ms. Tapia.
You could go back to 1962 and 72 and forward. So we've been maintaining those properties for quite some time.
Okay, so it's high time. we
Yes, yes.
Take care of this cleanup effort. I don't mean to make light of it, but it is kind of a cleanup effort.
Correct.
Would you agree? And putting real property in the hands legally of where it actually belongs.
I agree.
Okay, and Ms. Tapia, thanks for taking time to come to the meeting. Are there any comments you want to share with the committee tonight?
I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. It's a housing authority that's been around for quite some time. And so we're finding different things that need to be addressed that were not addressed. And it's just nice to know that the unified government is willing to help us clean some things up and get organized. So I just want to say we really appreciate it.
Great, well, we're happy to be able to do it.
Commissioner, oh, I'm sorry, if I may.
Yes.
A clarifying point. This resolution would actually take care of the other properties as well. Or if the commissioners would like, I can come back again when I have the correct legals for the other one, if you would rather I do that.
What is the desire of the committee?
If we can take care of it in one fell swoop tonight, I'm okay with that.
Okay, all right. I'm seeing heads nod, so that's fine. Okay, fantastic. I will ask our clerk if there were any comments received by the public on the item. Anyone online have their hand up to speak?
No hands raised.
And is there anyone in person come to the microphone, name and city of residence in 3 minutes. And talk, get that microphone right up to your, there you go.
All right.
Okay.
Matt Watkins, Kansas City, Kansas. I serve as chairman of the Housing Authority, and I would just want to thank you all for the time here to clean this up. I want to compliment staff. I do want to publicly acknowledge Andrea and her work here too, because it has been an arduous task, as you can imagine. So thank you all for helping us do this. I am hopeful that this is the beginning of some times when you're going to see us come forward with some more exciting and innovative things for the Housing Authority. JD and I both were reelected as chair and vice chair this last week, and we look forward to bringing some really exciting things for the Housing Authority forward. You guys will see it, and this is just the beginning of the cleanup that starts with the projects that you're going to see hopefully coming as soon as May. So cross your fingers that we get an award and it makes sense. So thank you again.
Thank you very much. Any other person in the room that would like to speak to the item? Okay, I will entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Davis, second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Hill. Aye. Davis,
Aye.
Harris,
Aye.
Kane. Aye. Bynum,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you both. We have our second item, which is also a resolution. We are certifying the costs of the 2024 presidential preference primary. We have our election commissioner. Do we not? Yes, Michael Abbott and Zachary Hunt, our deputy commissioner. Am I right?
I'm Keith Rankin with
I
Legal.
was like, you're not Zachary Hunt. Okay. Okay, I will turn it over to the election commissioner, please.
Sure. So I'll talk a little bit about this one. So this item is just to approve or to certify the cost of the presidential preference primary that was conducted back in March. So with the ultimate goal being that the state will reimburse us for those costs. So normally, how we've done it for the last 30 years, the parties have done their caucuses. That's how they decide their candidates. This year, the state decided to do the presidential preference primary. And so the catch there is the state runs it. How the state runs it is through the counties. So we bore the cost, the initial cost anyway, of carrying out that election. The good news being though, that the state will reimburse us that money. And so the first part of that process is to certify those costs so we can get that ball rolling. So the election office has calculated the cost of running that election. It came out to be at $164,850. What did I just say? $164,856.25. And on the attachment to the resolution kind of is a breakdown of that, of what all the costs were and everything like that. So that's kind of about it. Once it's passed, assuming it passes, the election office will forward it off to the Secretary of State and we'll get the ball rolling on having them reimburse us that almost $165,000.
As far as our responsibility here, it will only be this resolution. You won't have to come back to us for a second thing.
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, so we will pass the resolution that certifies this is how much it cost, and then you will send that on to the state so that you can be reimbursed.
That's correct. So we might need all the commissioners to sign off on the certification, but the resolution, yeah, is that piece.
Okay. Madam Clerk, if I'm not mistaken, this would come, assuming we would pass this here, then it would move forward to a full commission meeting and possibly on that night, if there was a document that you needed every commissioner to sign, we could sign it.
That's correct. And it would move forward to the May 2nd.
May 2nd. And then after that meeting, you would just have the commissioners sign the document if that's needed by the election office.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Any questions from the committee? Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After everything gets done, after, we sign and certify the costs, how long does the state anticipate that the election office will receive the funds?
Michael Abbott, Wyandotte County Election Commissioner. I think they said end of June, I think is kind of the time frame. So pretty quick.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone online, Madam Clerk, have their hand up?
No hands raised.
I'm sorry, did you receive any comments, written comments from the public?
No comments received.
Anyone in person want to speak on this item? Okay. I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Did you second?
Oh,
Okay,
you did.
Commissioner Hill got it before I did. Okay, she got the second.
I think we have a second from Commissioner Hill. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Hill,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Kane, Bynum.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And that is all of our agenda items this evening. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Hill,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Kane, Bynum.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Administration and Human Services is adjourned. Have a good evening.